Hello everyone, so welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something that I'm very excited for. I am going to have some Buzzfeed quizzes pick the books that I will be reading for this week. So I have picked out 4 quizzes on Buzzfeed that have different genres. We're going to be taking those quizzes, and for the 5th book I decided that I'm going to ask my Snapchat AI. I'll have them pick out a book and then I'm going to read those books for the rest of the week. So we're gonna get started, and I am going to record my screen so you guys can see the quizzes that I am taking and the answers that I'm giving. So I'm going to move aside. Okay, the quiz will go right here. YA fantasy book quiz. Which of these spellbinding YA fantasy books should you read next? So let's take the quiz. There's 8 questions. You're given a map with 4 locations marked. Where do you choose to journey? To a remote mountain, to an oasis, to a mysterious island, looming castle. Are you kidding? Which animal companion would you choose for your journey? A horse? Yeah, a horse. All right. Concerned for your safety, your friends and family offer you a choice between a weapon to take with you. Offer you a choice of weapon to take with you. You pick an axe, a bow and arrow, a sword, a small knife. I'm between a bow and arrow and a sword. But I just read Powerless and she does a bow and arrow, so let's go with a bow and arrow. After traveling all day, you are approaching a small village. You decide to stop there for the night. The first place you go to is the central marketplace, the central square, where I can gather information from residents, somewhere I can pray for a safe and successful journey, an inn or lodging so I can rest. I want to say I want to rest. As you are walking along, someone approaches you from behind and grabs your arm. You freeze, draw your weapon, look for an escape route, turn, and offer a disarming smile. Draw your weapon, duh. Halfway through your journey, you encounter an old woman and offer to share your food and water with her. To thank you, she asks you to choose an object that she will use to read your fortune. Let's do a flat amulet shaped like a hand. What would a fortune teller reveal as your greatest strength and greatest weakness? Ooh. Yeah, the first one. Yeah. Yeah, the first one. You encounter a mysterious figure who offers you a potion that will give you a temporary power. You politely decline, choose the potion that gives you the power to see into the future, choose the potion that will make you impervious to harm, choose the potion that will allow you to know if others are answering your questions honestly. Yeah, the questions. Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. So it's Arabian inspired. That's pretty cool. So that is what we're going to be reading for a fantasy book. Hopefully I like that. Let's do that then. Hello. So it is Sunday, I want to say today, and I have started Spice Road. So this is the book that I decided to start with. I started this book yesterday and I read 100 pages, and then I had some time today, so I also read 100 pages. We are at page 217 on chapter 20. I'm almost halfway through. So basically it takes place in this world where there is like this thing called Misra, and it's kind of like magic, and there's people who have abilities that they can do with this Misra, and it's kind of like a tea that they drink. So they do like a little tea ceremony, and you sip on this Misra, and then you are able to do something, and she's like a jinn slayer basically, and the jinns are like demons, devils kind of, and there's other people who can like have like familiars, or basically like they can take control of like a bird or a horse or anything. It's a fantasy world, and her brother goes missing. She thinks he's dead, but it turns out that he's not really dead. So she goes on to this thing where she has to go to find him, and she gets paired up with her enemy and this guy who she hates and who hates her back. And because he's one of the most powerful, and also they both belong to very popular and very famous like sorcerer families, I guess. And her brother is known to be like this, he is found out as a guy who sells this Misra, and he has like a magic obsession, which is not a good thing. And so they go to find him because they find out that he may not be dead like they thought he was. I read these 200 pages in no time, and I like the characters. I like the tension between the girl and her enemy, and I think they're so cute together and I love them. And I also love that there's like Arab names in here and a lot of Arab culture, and they speak about tea as if it's like this thing where you have to be like very intentional with it, and I think that's really cute and really nice because also my family drinks a lot of tea, so I see a lot of my family and myself in this book, and they have a lot of Arabic words that I understand. I really like the magic system. I really like that it's like strengthened by drinking tea, and I like the characters, and I like the like kind of tension between the girl and her enemy because it's not really like, I feel like it's very slow burn, so they're not really like obsessed with each other, always want to be together type of thing. Like it's very low key, and he has to like to keep this persona in front of his friends because they're also with two other people, and her and him, and so when they're around he has to pretend to be this person, and when she's around he like actually shows her who he really is. And I live for that mini trope. I live for that sub trope. It's written very well and very easy to follow along with. The magic system isn't really complicated, the world isn't complicated. I'm probably most definitely going to finish this book tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to that because I'm really enjoying my time with it, and I didn't think I would as much. Very cute. So that's my update for now, and I will update you tomorrow probably after I finish this book because I only have like 225 pages left, so not much at all. Welcome back. It is Monday, the 15th of April, I want to say, if I'm not wrong. So I started and finished Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. I gave it 3.75 stars. This was the underlined fantasy book result. Really enjoyed this. I found the fantasy world really interesting and really easy to get through, and like really easy to fall into and understand. It wasn't like overly complicated and you didn't understand what was going on and you were just thrown into this world. It was explained, and I really like, in the back it says, "We will fight, but first we will have tea." That is the most Arab thing you could ever think. This book is very Arabian inspired. It feels very Middle Eastern, very Mediterranean, and I really enjoyed this. There's a lot of Arabic words that I understood in here that I have connection to myself. I know, like, as a Middle Eastern, tea is very important to my family, and so to read about it in here, and like the magic system is basically kind of tied to tea, and you drink this tea and it kind of like amplifies your powers. Really interesting. It's really fun. It's nothing like any other fantasy book I've read. I really enjoyed myself. I really enjoyed my time with it. It read really quickly. I was really involved in the story. I really liked it. I definitely see myself continuing on. I believe the second book will be released sometime this year, and I think this is her debut novel. I think this is Maya's debut novel, which is really amazing for a debut novel to be this great of a fantasy. I had so much fun reading this book. I'm so glad I picked it up. I wouldn't have picked it. It wasn't even on my radar. I've never heard anyone speak about this. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. 3.75 stars. A fun read. This quiz is from Buzzfeed. It's which popular book should you read next? Okay, so first question is pick a place. London, Paris, NYC, Florida, Tokyo. I want to say London. I love London. Yeah. What type of book are you looking for? Standalone, duology, trilogy, one main book with spin-offs. Standalone. This or that. Beauty and the Beast, Romeo and Juliet. Beauty and the Beast. Because I've never read Romeo and Juliet. Genre, fantasy, contemporary fantasy with realism. I like all of these. Tropes. One bed trope. Friends to enemies to lovers. To enemies to lovers to enemies. Enemies to lovers, friends to lovers. Let's do the one bed trope. Oh, I already read this. Alright, let's do it again. So, okay, London. Standalone. How is that a standalone? Beauty and the Beast. Like all of these. Let's do enemies to lovers. The Shadows Between Us. Okay, let's get on with that, guys. The next book that I will read was the Buzzfeed quiz of which popular book should you read next, I believe. And I got the answer of The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. This is what it looks like. This book has been on my TBR for a very long time. I don't even remember when I put this book on my TBR. It's been a very long while because I remember seeing this cover and dying over it and really wanting to read it. This one is a young adult fantasy and it is 324 pages, so nothing really all that much. I've always been really interested by the cover. I don't know what this book is about, to be honest, but I'm very, very interested in picking it up. This is a fantasy as well, young adult, and I'm really, really interested to see where this goes because this has been, like I said, on my TBR for at least 3 years now. And I don't know, it just seems very, very interesting. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this Slytherin romance. Oh my god. Oh my god. Damon Salvatore is quoted here. And then she also mentions a Slytherin romance. Girl, I'm sold. I'm sold. Say less. I'm here. I'm ready. Eyes wide open. I'm ready to pick this up. I'm so excited now because, ooh, I love me Draco Malfoy. Like, my car is literally named Draco after Draco Malfoy. My house is Slytherin. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I believe this is the last fantasy that I have for this video, and the rest are romances. So I'm very, very excited to pick this up. As you guys saw, I have started The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. And this book is basically about this girl who wants to marry the Shadow King and kill him so she can have his whole kingdom to herself. She wants to be the one to rule the kingdom. And the king is basically looking for a bride because obviously he's a young king. His father just died the year before. And he's looking for a wife, and she can't come out until her sister, the eldest sister, gets married first. And so her sister gets married, or gets engaged, I guess. And so now she's able to go out into society and go to parties. Her sister tried with the king, the Shadow King, and he wasn't impressed. He didn't even look at her. And so when she asks her father to take her to the king, he's like, why would I do that? Your sister did. Like, her father is basically a piece of shit. He treats them very differently. He loves his eldest and he doesn't like his youngest. And it's just her and her sister and her dad, because her mom, I believe, passed away as well. She goes to meet the Shadow King, and she's this very manipulative girl. I don't believe I've ever read a story where the main character, the main girl in the book, is as manipulative as this girl is, and a bunch of shit goes from there. This king is called the Shadow King, and you can't touch him. It's literally like outlawed to touch the king because both of his parents and his brother were assassinated, and he has someone out to assassinate him. And so shit goes from there. It's this very interesting fantasy world. He has like shadows swirling around him, and they move faster, and then he can like go basically see through, or like he can walk through walls, and he can like touch through people, but they can't touch him. And so it's very, very interesting. I am 20 pages away from the end. I read most of this book in one sitting. I read until page 300 something. I'm going to finish this book now. I didn't really want to finish it at work because I always end up finishing my books at work, and then I come home and then I talk about them, and I felt like that was getting a little bit boring even for me. So I decided to pause, because I could have finished it at work and I decided not to. So I decided to pause and then finish it today while I'm here. And then after I finish it, I'm going to tell you my thoughts about it. As of right now, I'm very much enjoying my time reading it. This is a very easy fantasy to get into. I really like the main characters. I love the Shadow King. He is so adorable. He's so cute. You're kind of thrown in and you just go on with the flow. There's something that happened in the last up to where I read where shit is hitting the fan heavy, and I really see myself continuing on. I believe this is a trilogy, if I'm not wrong. I will definitely be continuing on with it because it's just so interesting, and I really want to see where it goes because I'm really enjoying the romance, and I'm really enjoying like the pain and the angst in it. I don't know my rating yet. I really want to get to the ending before I give you my rating, but just know that I'm really enjoying it, and this has been a very, very fun fantasy. I think I'm enjoying this one better than Spice Road because this one
has a lot more romance than Spice Road did, but both of them have been very, very entertaining and very cool and very easy to follow along with. The Shadows Between Us, and I was wrong. It's not a trilogy. The second book in this duology, which I believe is going to be a duology, is about the sister and her husband, and I'm not really interested in the sister, and I don't really care for her, so I don't see myself continuing on with the rest of the books that are in this world. I'm not interested in any book that's not about Calais and Alessandra because they are my faves. I don't really care about her sister. Never really did while I was reading the book anyways, so I don't see myself continuing on, but I have finished it, and I will say it was very, very entertaining. I really enjoyed myself reading this book. I really enjoyed my time reading this book. I'm giving it 3.75 stars because as much as I really enjoyed it, there wasn't really much more to it. It was just kind of a story and then it was done, and the way that it was done was really not what I had expected. Like, I would have loved to see a little bit more, but it felt like the conflict was resolved within like 5 pages. So it really wasn't all that much, you know? Like, I wanted a little bit more angst, a little bit more pain. The betrayal that happened in here happened for like 2 pages maximum, and then it was done. And we really could have done something with it. If this book had been 350 pages, 375 pages, I feel like we could have done a lot more. But it was like 325 pages, and it felt a little bit short. And like, we just wrapped everything up so quickly, and I wanted more. I wanted more pain and suffering and yearning. So for that reason, I'm giving it 3.75 stars. It's still very entertaining story, very entertaining characters. I really loved Calais, and I really loved Alessandra as characters and as love interests, and they were really fun to read about, and it was really fun to be in this world.
Describe your boyfriend, your dream boyfriend, and I'll recommend a steamy romance book to read. I'm excited. So it says, the first question is, what would your dream boyfriend do for a living? He works with his hands, something like construction. He's a politician. He's a rich CEO. He's a store owner. Let's say he's a rich CEO. Would love to see that. Which of these best describe you? Conscientious, I think that's how you say it. Responsible, I would say weird, but I want to be nice, so let's say unique. Stressed, a dreamer, persevering. I am a dreamer. How do you imagine you'd meet your significant other? A blind date, random meet cute in public, through work, through mutual friends, through social media, or through connected pasts? Let's say random meet cute in public, even though I don't go anywhere. Out of these options, which creative hobby would you most likely to pick up? Would you be most likely to pick up? Photography, sewing, fashion design, painting. Hobby, are you kidding? I'm too busy for that. I want to say probably painting because it looks cool. And finally, just tell me what your favorite romance trope out of these options is. I already know. Rom-com, age gap, enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, forbidden romance, boss and employee. I really love enemies to lovers, but I really love a forbidden romance too, and I feel like I haven't read a forbidden romance in a hot minute. I don't know. Ugh, let's do enemies to lovers. Hero by Samantha Young. Okay, you picked some good answers because this is one of my all-time favorite books. It's a boss and employee romance. Oh my god, as well as an enemies to lovers. The hero hates the heroine, while the heroine just wants to make it up to the hero.
So then, the next book I will be reading is Hero by Samantha Young, and this was the quiz for Describe Your Dream Boyfriend, and I'll recommend you a steamy romance book to read. So I believe this is going to be a steamy romance. I believe this is a workplace relationship, a workplace romance. This book is 388 pages. I'm really interested in this book. I have never read anything by Samantha Young before. Hopefully I enjoy it. It says really sexy, riveting, wonderfully written in the back. So that is exciting. And I love me a man in a suit. So, you know, this is the book that we're going to be picking up next. Wednesday, And as I told you yesterday, I did indeed start Hero by Samantha Young. This book is about this girl who is working as an assistant, a personal assistant to a photographer. We open with Alexa, who, if you have an Alexa, I'm so sorry if I made that go off. So we open with this girl, her name is Alexa, and she is a personal assistant to a photographer. And the photo shoot that they're doing that day is a photo shoot with this, he's like a rich mogul. They're doing it for a magazine called The Mogul Magazine, which I kind of imagine to be like GQ magazine, like GQ Men or like Time. I don't really know a lot of men's magazines. They're escaping my brain right now. But think like the men influential, the most rich man on the cover of the magazine. That's what they're doing. And Kane is the guy that they're filming for, or like shooting for this photo shoot, and she like loses her mind because, and you get told this within the very first beginning of the book, so I'm not really spoiling anything. Basically, her dad slept with his mom and got her addicted to cocaine, and so his mom OD'd and her dad just dipped off the face of the earth. Basically, her family ruined his family, and so they're enemies, and he hates her just by association. So he gets her fired, and then he feels bad for her, and then after he feels bad for her, he hires her on as his personal assistant, and then shit goes south from there. This book I'm enjoying so much more than I thought I would. There's a lot of spice in here. It's not even steamy at this point. Like, the book could be set on fire. That's how steamy this book is. It's so spicy. There's so many spice scenes, but they're done so thoughtfully, and I really, really like the romance between these two characters. I think it was written so well. There's so many scenes that I read in here that were like, oh my god, like if that were me, like I hurt as if that had happened to me. The scenes that happen in here and the angst and the pain, it affects me as if I'm the character going through it, which obviously I'm not. So I think that speaks a lot for the writing of this book. This book is so well written. The romance is so well thought out and so fleshed out, and it feels so deep and hurtful and impactful, and it feels very real. It feels very, very real. Like, I care for these characters, and I care for Kane, and I care for Alexa, and I care for their romance, and I really want them to be together, and I find myself genuinely rooting for these two people to be together as if I know them, as if they're my best friends, that I am watching go through all these things. So for that reason, I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm thinking of giving it 4 stars because of how much I'm enjoying it. I read it, I flew through it. I have like 30 pages left. I'm really, really enjoying myself. I think this romance was written so very well. I'm so glad I got to read this. I don't know that I would want a boyfriend like Kane because he's a commitment phobe and he runs away from his feelings, and naturally that's due to the trauma that he goes through. Speaking of trauma, so much trauma in this book. There's so much trauma in this book to where it feels like it comes out of left field, and it feels like how did we get here? This was supposed to be a fun romance book, and it's not. There's so much happening in here, and it's so much deeper than just a surface level romance. And for that reason, I'm really, really enjoying myself. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to finish the last 30 pages of this book. Genuinely, please, I need to know what's gonna happen. Finished the last 30 pages of Hero by Samantha Young. 4 stars. The epilogue in this book, one of the best epilogues I've ever read. I really, really enjoyed my time with this book. I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed the romance, and I enjoyed the drama. It wasn't really like too dragged out. It felt like we took enough time. It felt like the book was long enough to get through everything that we needed to get through. I read this really, really quickly. I did not want to put this book down like I mentioned. This entire day, I've just been thinking about this book and thinking about the characters. Even when I did put the book down, I was still thinking about the characters. I enjoyed it. I'm giving it 4 stars. This was very, very fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I really had a good time reading this book, and I definitely will look into reading more of Samantha Young's writing because this book was written so fun, and if any of her other stories are exactly like this, then I am sure that I'm going to love them. I really had fun with the story and had fun with these characters, and I definitely will be thinking about them for another week or 2 or 3, which genuinely means that I really enjoyed the book. So we're back. This is going to be the Snapchat AI picks my breeds instead of doing a quiz, and I'm really nervous because I don't know if the Snapchat AI has good recommendations, but I saw Sarah Caroli do this, and so I'm doing it because I want to. So pick hi, so it doesn't come for me when AI is taking over the world. Hi, I
Can you please recommend me a contemporary romance standalone? Does that even make sense at this point? Book to read. I'm scared. Oh, I already read that one. He picked The Hating Game. I don't want that one. I have already read that book and enjoyed it. So he knows what my type is. Can you please pick me something else? The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. Two strangers who share an apartment but never meet. Okay, so that's what we're gonna be reading because I haven't read that book before. The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. Let's get on with me reading that book and hopefully I like it.
The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. This book is 325 pages, so basically the same as Hero. It says, what if your roommate is your soulmate? Was your soulmate? Roommate situation, roommates to lovers, because obviously it's called The Flat Chair, so it's probably set in England or somewhere in Europe. This is dual POV, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to turn off the camera, but I have nothing to say. Like, yes, this is a book about freaking people sharing a house, an apartment. They're roommates. They end up lovers. Oh my god, they're roommates. They're roommates, and then they end up being lovers. And that's it. That's literally all I need to say about the book. And yeah, I continue to yap because I just feel like talking. You guys are like my friends. I'm telling you, like, just like talking to a friend. Like, if I was FaceTiming a friend, I'd just never stop yapping. And so now you're getting the friend treatment where I don't stop yapping. So I hope you're okay with that. Welcome back. It is Thursday and I have officially started and finished The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary, and I realized today why her name sounds so familiar to me. It's because I tried to read her other book called The Switch and I ended up DNFing that book. By the way, if you can hear some crunching sounds, my cat is eating back there, so that's why. Ignore that after like 25 pages because I didn't like the way it was written. And this book almost had the same fate. This book is about this girl just went through this thing with her boyfriend and she's trying to find a place to stay. So she is visiting these apartments for like 300, 400 euros. And she goes to see this last apartment that is her last hope that ends up being an absolute wretch. And so she answers an ad that was in one of the papers that was about somebody wanting to rent out their apartment, basically. He works the night shift, so he comes home at 6 p.m. And 9 to 5, basically. Like, he leaves at 6 p.m. and she comes back home at 6 p.m. And then when he comes back later that morning or the next morning, she's leaving for work. And then the weekend is also hers because he stays with his girlfriend for that time. Contract, I guess, says that they would never meet because his girlfriend meets with her to rent her out the apartment. And it's for 350 euros a night because he's trying to get his brother out of jail and he needs to pay the fee for the lawyer, and then also as well he's a full-time nurse, and so he works the night shift as a nurse, and then he wanted to rent out the flat. That's how they meet. Basically, they become flatmates that like leave each other notes and stuff. This book almost ended up being a DNF because I really did not like the way that this author just drones on for pages and pages and pages. There's pages and pages of just writing and like description, and I don't like that, and it takes me forever to get through it because I'm just so bored reading it. And the first 100 pages of this book were so boring, I really did not want to continue on with the book. But when they started leaving each other notes and the romance kind of began, then I started to get really interested in the book. I gave it 3.75 stars. I don't know how I feel about it because I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed the last like 200 pages, the last 150 pages I really enjoyed, but the beginning of the book was so boring that I literally almost DNF'd it 3 times and I had to force myself to continue to get to the good part of the book. So I don't know. That makes me feel a little bit weird because I'm like, I shouldn't have to push through 100 pages of just description and boring at that. Boring description. I think the romance was written really, really well, and it was written where you can tell that the characters really care about each other, and a lot of twists and turns happen, and there's a lot of angst and yearning and like pain because the characters love each other so much, but there's just so much happening and so much between them, and the circumstances keep changing, and so it's a mess. It's a mess and a half. But to make a long story short, I enjoyed my time reading it. I didn't enjoy the fact that I had to push myself to get into it and to actually continue reading it. A very meh 3.5, 3.75 stars. Hello, welcome back. The last quiz we will be taking is called I have the perfect book for you to kick off your Goodreads goal in 2024. I've already kicked it off. We're 4 months into the year, so ignore that. Which type of book do you like the best? Fantasy and romance. I like both. I also like drama and adventure, but let's do romance because I already have 2 fantasies. Which trope do you prefer? Let's do Forbidden Love. Choose a song. Ooh, all of these are good. Oh, I don't know. This one is hard. This one is really hard, guys. I don't know. Cool Summer, Skyfall, The Night We Met. Oh, but I love the feelings of both The Night We Met and Another Love. And Somewhere Only We Know. I don't know. Oof, let's do The Night We Met. Okay. Which word best describes you? Protective, loyal, intelligent, bold, creative, hopeful. Which is your favorite season? Autumn. When reading, what is the one thing you want in the book? Magical powers, sports, trauma, murder, something that will make me cry, childhood, best friends. I don't know. Let's do something that will make me cry just to keep it interesting. Standalones. Do you prefer single POVs or multiple POVs? I don't really care, to be honest. So let's do multiple. Why not? 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I have been meaning to read this one for a hot minute, so I'm glad. Let's see how that goes. 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I've seen a lot of people talk about this book. I've seen a lot of people really, really enjoy this book. This book is huge, as in size-wise. It's bigger than my head. This book is 308 pages, so it's a lot smaller than I believe any of the other books that I read. Maybe The Shadows Between Us was a little bit less than this one, but I don't think so. I think this is the shortest book of this challenge. I don't know what this book is about. One kiss lasts a moment, but 1,000 kisses can last a lifetime. One boy, one girl, a bond that is forged in an instant and cherished for a decade. A bond that neither time nor distance can break. A bond that will last forever, or so they believe. I don't know. I heard this book was really, really sad, and I heard a lot of people really had a lot of emotions reading this book, and so for that reason I'm excited. I don't want to cry reading this book because I really do not need to be crying like that, but if I do cry, then I will be happy because then that would mean it brought some emotion out of me better than the flat share. This will be the last book of this challenge, so I'm very, very excited for that. I think the book cover is so cute and it's got me really excited to read this book. This book was never really on my radar. I've seen a lot of people on BookTube and BookTok talk about this book. I think people say that this is a sad book, so I don't know. I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to get into it and finally finish this week of reading. This is the last book of this challenge, and this is the last book that I will be starting for this video, and we start this probably tonight. What is going on? So I started 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole, and what is happening? Somebody let me know. Why did no one, okay, we talked about how this book makes a lot of people cry. I've been sitting here for this entire morning. I am now 199 pages in. I have 105 pages left. Why? Why did no one warn me that this is not just a silly, goofy cry because they break up type of story? This is not fun. This is painful. I'm not having a good time. I'm not. I'm on the verge of tears. I'm sitting here, genuinely, I've been on the verge of tears for the last 100 pages that I've read. I'm 200 pages in. The first 100 pages were fun, cute. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is adorable. This is not fun. This is not adorable. This is not a good time. I'm not enjoying myself. I'm actually struggling a lot. I'm on the verge of tears. I've been on the verge of tears for the past 100 pages that I've read. This is not a fun, cute cry. This is I'm going to end up bawling my eyes out on the floor of my room for the next 3 hours after I finish this book because I cannot cope with what's happening. What is happening? What I don't understand, right? The quiz for this book was, which book should you start off your Goodreads challenge with in 2024? Why would you start your year off with this? Why? Why would you start your year off? Why is this even an option for you to start your year off reading a book like this? Why would you do that to yourself? It's a best friends to lovers. I am getting my heart stolen out of my chest by this book, and not in a good way. The headache is starting, it's there, and I have 100 pages-ish left. Pray for me. The next day because let's talk about it. I finished 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole, and I was going to update you the minute that I finished this book, but I think I already told you that I was feeling already very emotional like 200 pages in. So I think if you've read this book, then you could have guessed where I went after the last 100 pages. I was a mess. I was bawling my eyes out. I was crying and I couldn't stop and I couldn't breathe and I couldn't see straight because of how much this book destroyed me. I gave this book 4 stars. This was a lot to read, and especially if you don't know what the plot of this book is and you don't know what's going to happen. I found it so pure and so cute, and so young love is so nice to read about, and for that reason I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the characters and I enjoyed getting to know them. This book gives me the vibes of If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. Trigger warning for that. It's a sad book if you are thinking of picking this book up. It's a very sad book. Very sad way to finish this week of reading. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it if you like really sad books. Let's rewind and talk about what we read this past week. First, I started off with Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. I really enjoyed the story, although it's a little bit forgettable. There are some parts of it that I haven't forgotten and that I do still remember whenever I think about this book. I think the magic system in this book was very interesting. I believe I'm sticking to a 3.5 rating, 3.5 stars, because while I enjoyed it, I wanted more of the romance and I felt like we didn't get enough of the romance. The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levin Seller, and this one was also a fantasy, and this one was really interesting. It was really fun. It's very short. I had a lot of fun reading this book. I think I am giving this one also 3.5 stars because it was fun and I had a fun time reading it, and I thought the premise of the story was very interesting. This was very fun to read, very quick to get through. Then we read Hero by Samantha Young, and I gave this one 3.75 stars. That's what I'm sticking with. I really had a good time reading this one. I still very vividly remember everything that happens in this book, and I read it a week ago, so that says a lot. I really liked the premise. I really liked the main characters. There was a lot of angst and there was a lot of yearning and a lot of spiciness, and it took a different turn than what I thought would happen. Like, this one went quick into a different realm from the other romances that I've read in my life, but I didn't mind it. I really had a good time reading it. The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, and I think I'm sticking to a 3.5. I'm not sure. I'm between 3.5 and 3.75 stars because I kind of skimmed a lot of the beginning of this because it just felt so descriptive and so much was happening in the descriptions that I was like, I don't really care. I almost DNF'd it for the first 100 pages because I just wasn't interested in what was going on. But once they actually started, like once the main guy character and the main girl character actually started to get to know each other and started to actually talk to each other, then I was really into the story and I really enjoyed it. 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I'm sticking with 4 stars for this book, between 3.75 and 4 stars, because I really enjoyed myself. I matched this book. That's cute. I enjoyed myself reading this book, although I did not know what it was about, and so for that reason, I should have looked up like a summary or like something about this book that would kind of prep me. All I knew was that it was sad, but I didn't know how sad it was going to be, and this one was very sad. I would have preferred a warning, but that's on me for not looking into it, so can't really fault the book for that. These are all the books that I read this week. I had so much fun reading these books. Let me put them down before I end up hurting them. If you have any quiz recommendations for me to take for a different video, or like we do a part 2, please let me know down below what are some quizzes I should take, because I had a hard time finding some of these quizzes. Let me know if you enjoyed it down below in a comment, or give this video a thumbs up so I know to do another part to this video. I had the best time, and I hope you had the best time watching. Thank you so much for watching if you watched all the way to the end. I hope you have the very, very best day. Treat yourself to something nice, and I'll see you guys again next week with another video. Goodbye.